Om. समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, so we start chapter 14 today, and the introduction, if you have the texts on you, you can open it up, but otherwise, even otherwise, so you see this chapter deals with qualities of nature. They are called gunas, and this whole chapter is about how the entire universe is made up of just these three gunas. In the last chapter, we had done this, the composition of Prakriti and the composition of Purusha. And these two things together are the ones that comprise the entire universe. Now, over here in this chapter, they tell you about Prakriti, in which all of us are, and how the three qualities of Prakriti, the three gunas or the three components of Prakriti influence our minds, our actions, and everything else. Now, it's a very scientific sort of a study of the human mind and why it behaves the way it behaves. Now, see, we all know that the dynamizing factor of matter is one and the same all over the universe, and matter also is the same all over the world. It is not so that the mud quality here is different from a mud quality somewhere else, or that it is composed of the same thing. That's why it's called mud. Coal is coal everywhere, right? Air is air everywhere, like that. So here then we have to see that how is it that there is innumerable varieties in the world. We all know that since everything is the same everywhere, the component, the raw material being the same, the different compositions of the raw material, how you mix the raw materials is different everywhere. See, Gurudev used to give the example of coffee always, and his South Indian mind used to always think of coffee. So he used to say that coffee is coffee all over. But yes, coffee is different. And what he used to say was that in South India, it is just plain, simple coffee, brewed beans, and roasted and brewed beans, and just this much little bit of milk or no milk. And as you go towards North India, because he used to travel a lot, so he says, as you go towards North India, then you will have something like 1/4 milk, 3/4 coffee. Then you will have half milk, half coffee. And he says, and then you come to Punjab, the land of milk. And there you will have pure milk with a little bit of coffee in it. So coffee is coffee, but the components or the mixing is different everywhere. Similarly, over here, the variety, I don't know how many lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of things and people and animals and fish and insects and plants and leaves. They say that not a single leaf of any tree is the same as the other leaf. Can you imagine the variety? This is really shocking that no leaf is the same. They look the same, but the veins in it, will be different. Similarly, look at the human beings. Human beings, even in one family, they look different, their minds are different, they behave differently, isn't it? No two children are the same, of the same parents. Yeah. So here it is an amazing variety that you have over here. Okay, now also see, in the introduction, Gurudev gives the example of Ganges water. So Ganges water being the same, when it is poured into different kinds of containers, it takes different shapes, right? Some people pour Ganges water in green colored bottles, red colored bottles, dark green bottles, blue bottle, black bottle, and they put it out in the sun, because they say that when the sun rays passes through the color of that glass, the water becomes medicinal. And this is a very strange thing. For different diseases, they give you that water to drink. It is energized by the sun, but in a different way because of the color being different. So the water in a green bottle will look green. The same water in a red bottle will look red. The shapes are different, containers are different, and they take the shape of this container. Similarly, human beings, animals, birds, insects, everything, that the dynamism, the thing that dynamizes them, is the same everywhere. It is the same. But since the thing that it is dynamizing has different properties, it seems to be different. Otherwise, it is the same. Now, the Geeta it talks of gunas. It uses this term gunas, but this term gunas indicates not the properties. Gurudev has written not the properties of a material, but the attitude with which the mind functions. As I said also, that gunas determine the attitudes that people have, and why and wherefore do they behave in a certain manner, or why do they look different, and all that. So that depends on the gunas, the different proportions in which the three gunas are mixed. Now, what are the three gunas? The three gunas, you all know by now, we've talked about them many times. It is sattva, rajas, and tamas. Okay. This chapter will be detailing all the three gunas and telling you which guna has what effects on the mind. So a person with sattva predominant will have lesser rajas and very little tamas. Somebody with rajas predominant will have some sattva and some tamas. The person who has majority of tamas will have very little, almost negligible sattva, and more of rajas and maximum of tamas. So he will be called tamasic. The person who has maximum rajas will be called rajasic. The person with sattva will be called, maximum sattva will be called sattvic. But it doesn't mean that a sattvic person will not have the other two, or the rajasic man will not have the other two. It's not like that. All of us have all the three, right? Because see, sleep comes under tamas. Where do you have anybody who doesn't sleep? Everybody sleeps. Or if not sleeps, at least rests, right? So that is what? That comes under tamas. Even in food, the same thing. In thoughts, the same thing. In action, the same thing. Like that. So now, see, in the art of self-perfection, this art of self-perfection, you have to rise from tamas to sattva. That is what this chapter is trying to tell you. That Each one of these gunas will influence you, but with your sheer action and willpower and right guidance from your teacher, you can slowly uh, move from tamas and rise up to sattva and then go into pure sattva, which is the aim of a human being. Now, the symptoms are indicated over here. All the symptoms. The Acharya in the Geeta, that is Krishna, indicates to you all the symptoms of sattva, rajas, and tamas, and how each guna influences you. And not only that, but whichever guna is predominant in you, that is because of your vasanas. The guna that is predominant in you will be according to your vasanas. Why is somebody spiritual? You can force other people to come and attend a spiritual talk. They will not come. They will say, haven't you got anything better to do in life than attend spiritual talks and sing bhajans? There's so much else to do, right? You know such people. So they will never come. They will never eat sattvic food. Their love is rajasic food. Some people love tamasic food. So why is it like that? It is the influence of these gunas. Now, how the subtle body works under the influence, it's mainly about the subtle body, mind and intellect, mainly mind and intellect. ऐसे तो कहने को subtle body has some people listed 11 components, some people list 17 components, so they are all that help it, but bifurcations, divisions of the same thing. But mainly it is mind and intellect which compromises the subtle body. Now you have done all this, and the way to rise from tamas to sattva is the same that every saint tells you, that is Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan. These are the 3 steps that take you above the gunas, that help you rise above the gunas as much as diligently you will do them. So don't always think that no, I have understood. I haven't. Some people say I can't understand. Some people say I'm not interested in spirituality. Some people say I have understood, but I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. So all these come under tamas. All these come under tamas. That means you are not making enough effort. That is all. That is all. The human mind being the same, if you put in more time, put in more effort, you will rise. You will be able to take it forward. Okay. So then once you reach with Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan, when you reach the ultimate, that is pure sattva, they say when you reach pure sattva, in the rarest of meditational poise, it is at that time that you realize. Because Gurudev used to say, pure sattva cannot stand. Pure sattva will vanish. It cannot stay. Because that is a quality of the body, mind, and intellect. No matter how good, but it is a quality of the body, mind, and intellect. So no matter how much pure your mind is, it is the mind is still the mind. It will have pure thoughts. It will make you do pure actions, but you will not be able to go beyond that unless you reach absolutely pure sattva. Only then will all this drop. Okay, so this being the introduction, let me start with the chapter. श्रीभगवानुवाच परं भूय प्रवक्ष्यामि ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमं यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे परां सिद्धिमितो गताः. I will again declare to you that supreme knowledge, the best of all knowledges, which having known all the sages have attained the supreme perfection after this life. Okay. Now, one thing to note over here is the word again. I will again declare. Okay. Scriptures do not necessarily repeat. They generally do not repeat. Especially scriptures like the Upanishads and all, they do not repeat. So the student is supposed to understand the first time the teacher tells them, right? So you know that whole story about Tapovan Maharaj telling our Gurudev when he went there as a student that I will not repeat anything. That was the condition. Can you imagine? I will not repeat anything. And though they both knew Malayalam, they both knew English, he said, I will only teach in Sanskrit and Hindi. Sanskrit and Hindi. And Gurudev did not know that. Still, Gurudev stuck on. See, this was only to ensure the attention of the student, ensure the full diligence and attention of the student. And he wanted such a student who, no matter what the hindrance, no matter what the hurdle, that student will still labor forth. And that was our Gurudev. It cannot be everyone, it cannot be anyone. You know, these kind of hard conditions. So, see, here, but he says, I will again declare. The teacher himself is saying that I will again say. And Gurudev used to say that the teacher is saying that because the student is a Rajasic man. The student is not a highly spiritualized person. Now just imagine that if Arjun, who had the benefit of a teacher like Krishna, is also not such a spiritual person, what do you think of you and me to read the Geeta? We come nowhere. We are nowhere in this. Yet, he is repeating, the Lord is repeating it because he is repeating it to a Rajasic man, and we all come under the major Rajasic category because we keep running about all over the world doing this, that, and the other, and all the time there is activity. So, anybody who is under a lot of activity is Rajasic. Okay. Okay. So then the Rajasic mind and the Tamasic mind has to have a repetition of teaching again and again and again. That is why I always tell my students that please don't leave Shravana. Don't leave Shravana. You have to listen to a teacher and not online while having coffee and spreading your legs and no, no, no. Eye to eye contact with a teacher, sanidhya of a teacher is very, very important. I know the second best is online because if you can't meet the teacher, the best is online. I do agree. But if you can, and you must try to, you must go to a teacher. And it is only then direct contact and sanidhya of a teacher that will hit you and that will be able to lift you. Okay. So that is why again and again, Shravan, you must do, even if you think I know it all. Even if you think you know it all. As we used to also think so many times, Gurudev used to repeat the same thing, same thing. Non-apprehension causes misapprehension, and misapprehension causes avidya, and avidya you know, we knew it like the back of our hand, but still Gurudev used to repeat it so that it is dinned into our heads and it is burned into us, and the knowledge doesn't go. So, you know, that kind of a teacher, you just have to listen. Okay. One is this word again declare. Huh? Okay. Then the next thing he says is the best of all knowledges. So, how come that it is the best of all knowledge? Arjun, he was teaching Arjuna, who was the prince, who is a prince. And the prince will always want the best. Otherwise, he will not even attempt it. Every prince will have the best clothes, the best food, the best vehicle, the best this, the best that. Isn't that so? So he is saying that I am declaring to you the best of all knowledge, so that Arjun pays attention. And this is a one of the best knowledges, because it is a movement from one plane to another plane of consciousness. And that is why he says that which having known, all sages have attained the supreme perfection. So if some knowledge can give you supreme perfection, it has to be the best knowledge. All other knowledges are knowledges of a certain area. Physics, limited knowledge; chemistry, limited knowledge; psychology, limited knowledge, only of the mind, not of the body; medical science, only of the body, not of the mind. Like that. So, beautician, skin and hair, skin, hair, nails, that is all their world. They don't go beyond it. So that think about it, that all knowledges, all subjects are limited in sphere. This knowledge is beyond all knowledges, the supreme knowledge they call it, because it lifts man from all other knowledges, it lifts man above them. It lifts man to a much higher plane. And therefore, also in the scriptures, it is written, these higher ways of living are not for all. One in a million will even come and hear or listen. So even if you are listening, consider yourself very, very lucky, very, very blessed to have a teacher to listen to. People don't listen to the scriptures. Yeah, very few do. And even those who do, their retention power is not there. They listen and forget, listen and forget. They listen and dive back into the world. They listen and dive back into the world. And they think, erroneously, of course, that the world can give them happiness, permanent happiness, which doesn't happen. So their whole life they keep struggling like that. Acha, nothing else in this life can lessen your agitations and your sorrows and your worries except this knowledge. That is why he calls it the best of all knowledges. And also because this knowledge, when the sages have attained this knowledge, they have reached supreme perfection. And after, but see, one thing very interesting, they write after this life. Now, after this life has been interpreted by many scholars and many saints in different ways. Okay, but Shankaracharya's interpretation is one of the best ones, which says that after this life is after his egocentric life has ended. That is the meaning. After his egocentric life is ended. Because if it is not that, then why do you want to do it? Most of the people will say, we don't know what happens after you die. How do we know that we'll attain anything after we die? We don't believe in that you will get this and you will get that after you die. No, no. So we want it right now here. That is why we have the terms like Jivan Mukta. You've heard it. Jivan Mukta means liberated in this very life. Liberated from what? The question is, liberated from what? So this is liberated from, again and again when you repeat this knowledge becomes firm in your mind, and that liberates you from sorrows, agitations, worries, and limitations, right? So then the subject matter of this chapter is the behavior of man and the influences of the gunas on the subtle body. Okay, in short, this is the subject matter of this whole chapter. Okay, kya hai? That it will caution the student to walk cautiously, to walk very safely when the gunas take you into different dangerous directions. If you are pulled by the force of gunas, then the spiritual seeker hits a big low. there is a big fall, and that it is very difficult to rise back again to the same point from where he fell. So, isn't it better not to fall? So, when you are going on a journey, don't you attach to a GPS? Don't you ask people for a roadmap? Don't you know, or you find out whether your driver knows the way or not? Isn't it? So, that is the same thing these gunas do. They are like a diligent, clever driver, and the teacher will caution you about these gunas, that where are the pitfalls and how can you save yourself from the dangers on way. Because if you do not know that from there is suddenly a sharp turn, and there is nothing to tell you that there is a sharp turn, you are driving very fast, then what do? You go over the road and fall, isn't it? I remember we used to go for holidays to a place called Pachmadi in Madhya Pradesh, lovely hill station. There was a road which led to a sudden fall, 300 feet deep, 300 feet deep. And it was a sudden fall, and the road ended there, and there was no sign anywhere that there is a dead end over here, or there is a fall there, or even that there was a barricade there, nothing. And so many people who were coming fast on a motorbike, because the view from there was very good, so people used to go to see. So rushing on a motorbike used to just go over. Even if you threw a stone, we used to do it many times as children, throw a stone, and down below there was water. So that stone, you could actually see it going down like that, like that, like that, and then plonk into the water. Imagine. And there was no sign there. So this is what this chapter is doing, that it will warn you of pitfalls. It will warn you of the mischiefs your mind can do, the dark nooks and alleys into which your mind can take you. And you won't even get to know. You'll just be pulled into them. But if you listen to the teacher's cautions and you go by them, then you will reflect on them, and you will be saved by them. Okay, we've done this. Then uh, okay. Now see, the individuals remain the same even after spiritually uplifting themselves, but the nature of their mind changes. Okay, the temperament of their mind changes. And there is a better life, there is an illumined life. They are able to see things more with more clarity. They are able to see their own mistakes, where something can bring them to sorrow and agitation, and then they cleverly enough are able to save themselves from it. So this is what the reflection and understanding of these chapters, of this chapter, will benefit you. Okay, now then you leave this and you come to the next verse. We can do the next verse. The Lord now proceeds to declare that this knowledge definitely leads to supreme perfection. So, verse 2, idam jnanamupashritya mama sadharmyam agataha sarge pinopajayante pralayena vyathanti cha. It says, they who, having refuge in this knowledge, have attained to my being, are neither born at the time of creation, nor are they disturbed at the time of dissolution. See, once you go beyond a certain stage of consciousness, you cannot re enter that. Giving you an example, again, the famous example of the waker, the dreamer, the deep sleeper. Once you go from waking stage to dream stage, you cannot go back to the waker stage in the dream stage. You will have to leave the dream stage to become a waker, isn't it? And you have to discard the waker completely. Only then can you dream. You cannot say, no, I am awake also and I am dreaming also. That is called daydreaming, where you just sit and look and gaze, and but you are awake and you see you are a waker. So daydreaming is just imagination sitting with open eyes. Okay. So here, see what he is saying is that from one stage to another, see, they who having refuge in this knowledge have attained to my being. Look at this expression, attained to my being means become him. You have become the Lord himself. You have become God, Brahma. There are no two ways about it. You cannot retain your individuality after that. And once you become the pure consciousness is never born and never dies. Therefore, you also are never born after that, and you do not die after that. Death and birth is only for the body. Death and birth is for all matter. It is the destiny of all matter. But the dynamic energy, the pure consciousness that activates this matter does not die. There is no death to it. There is no birth to it. It is timeless. There was never a time when it was not, and there was never will be a time when it will not be. Such a thing is called deathless, isn't it? Because it is birthless, beginningless, so endless. Now, what he says is that you attain to my being. Attain to my being means that you completely merge into him and become him. There is nothing of your ego left. So it is sadharmya. यहाँ पे sadharmya also is interpreted differently by people. Sadharmya means of similar qualities. Actually, it translates as all similar qualities. यहाँ पे लिखा है unity. In my text, it is written unity. But unity, why? Because that is what the meaning is. It is not similar qualities alone. You will have similar qualities of the Lord if the Lord has any qualities. There are no qualities. So here you cannot translate dharma as qualities, similar qualities. You can only say complete merger with the infinite. Complete merger with the infinite. Finite becomes infinite because finite does not exist thereafter. The example given by Gurudev is that of the Ganges. When it falls in Calcutta into the sea. Now, we all know the quality of Ganges water is different from the ocean water. The ocean water is salty, the color is different. Ganges water, the color is different and the quality is different. Once the Ganges water has a shape means it moves in a certain direction and it is bound and it has a narrow shape of the water flowing in a river format, right? Now, once it falls into the Bay of Bengal, it is called Ganga Sagar, where the Ganges water mixes with the oceanic waters for a certain area. Millions and trillions of gallons of Ganges water are flowing into the ocean. But after some time, what happens? There is no such thing as the Ganges water. The Ganges loses total identity. It loses its name. what does the name become? Bay of Bengal. There is no Ganges there. The water becomes salty? Yes. The shape is what? A vast ocean. So there is no Ganges left at all. The same thing happens to an individual who has attained the supreme, and he becomes pure consciousness himself. And since pure consciousness is beyond time, then it never is born, and it can never again die. So Gurudev used to say that you can never have the stupid misconception that you are the mind, intellect, and the body. You will go beyond that totally. And this is a state of perfection. When a dream ends, okay, when a dream ends, the sorrows of the dream go or not? They do. Once you wake up, all the sorrows of the dream, whether a murderer was chasing you, or a tiger was attacking you, or that you were flying in the air, or you were drowning in the ocean, none of that is there. None of that is there. You suddenly wake up, and it is a travel from one state of consciousness to another state of consciousness. Similarly, this is in the Upanishads described as the fourth state of consciousness, where you leave all the three states: the dreamer, the deep sleeper, as well as the waker, and you go beyond this, and you go and you become the total, omnipotent, ultimate reality. That is called pure consciousness. So then after that, there is no creation, no dissolution, as he uses these words, that there will be no creation and no dissolution. Now, according to Vedanta, there is no creation. According to Vedanta, there is no creation. It is a trick of the mind. It is just something you see which is not there, including your own body. Today's science also says the same thing, that anything, the biggest illusion of man is solidity. That is a statement of a great scientist of 20th century, that there is no such thing as solid. Now, when he says, this is a scientific man and much decorated man, and when he's saying that there is no such thing as solidity, so what is this and what is this? Isn't your body solid? You think that's all, your head is solid? It isn't there. That's what he's saying. So if it isn't there and you see it, that is what Vedanta said long back. That is what the teacher here is saying long back. Once you see that reality, and once you see the reality of yourself, there is no going back. The same examples as the snake and the rope. Hey, once you have seen the rope, can the snake exist? Can anyone continue to see the snake? It cannot be. No matter how many times somebody tells him that no, there is a snake there, I can see the scales, I can see the tail, I can see the tongue. He says, no, it is a rope, I've seen it, it's a rope, isn't it? So once you have seen it, and it is there very much in your perception, it can never go from you. Gurudev used to give a long story, and just to cut it short, I'm not going to dramatize it the way he used to. He used to almost 10 minutes, he used to give this story with all the acting, so that it is nicely in our minds. And really it is, that there was just this beggar boy, and once, and fellow used to sit on the ground and sell some things. He was a footpath seller. And once some king's men discovered him, and he was wearing something in his neck, which was a sign that he's the king's son. And they picked him up and took him to the palace and made him understand that he is not the beggar boy, he is the king. Now, once he is enthroned as the king or the prince, and he knows who he is, he has this talisman rubbing against his chest, telling him who he is. Will he ever think that he's a beggar? Even if he has to want to get the experience of the beggar back again to see what it was like, at night he wears his beggar's clothes and quietly goes out of the palace and behaves like a beggar boy to get that experience back. Will he ever, in the remotest corners of his mind, believe that he's a beggar? No. He can never believe he's a beggar. Will he be as sorry as a beggar? Never. Will he be hungry? Will he be concerned? Will he be worried that where the next meal is coming from? Never. He knows for sure that he is the king. The similar thing happens to the person over here who reaches the pure consciousness. Okay, we stop here and we do the next verse next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.